The first Sword Art Online progressive movie was pretty terrible, and this new one is somehow even worse. The Room is genuinely a much better film. In this video, I'll explain why Sword Art Online progressive Scherzo of Deep Night is a bad movie, starting off with an underwater shot. How original. Clearly, they're shamelessly copying Avatar, The Way of Water. It's utterly comical how they decided to skip right to floor 4. I mean, isn't the whole point of the progressive series to explore each and every floor? They're practically rehashing the exact same blunders that haunted the original series. It's clear as day that the filmmakers couldn't care less about making things better. Who on earth is the target audience for this movie anyway? The Sword Art Online fans will undoubtedly be left disappointed since they couldn't manage to adapt the source material correctly. And as for the Sword Art Online haters, well, they'll despise this movie simply because they're Sword Art Online haters. Kirito, the supposed lone wolf, is partying with Asuna. Apparently, consistency is too much when it comes to Kirito. What kind of a name is this? Withage the Hippocampus? Seriously? Did the writers simply consult a random word generator for inspiration? Kibao believes that Lind is leading his squad to charge the boss and snag that coveted last attack bonus item. It's a shining testament to the sheer idiocy of the game designers who thought that implementing such a wretched game mechanic was a stroke of brilliance. They were aiming for a toxic, cutthroat competition rather than fostering any sense of teamwork or camaraderie. Everyone who participated in the boss fight should be granted equal loot. The background here is totally copying the Oasis startup scene in Ready Player One. Oh, what a riveting spectacle. Behold yet another enthralling display of characters partaking in the extraordinary art of sitting and conversing, all while enjoying the fine delicacies of cuisine. It's truly the pinnacle of storytelling prowess, as one would expect from this oh-so-impressive franchise. And yes, in case it wasn't blatantly obvious, that was sarcasm. What profound purpose do those whiskers on Argo's face serve? Are they attempting to mimic the iconic diva from Overwatch? Asuna is salty and bitter because Kirito managed to snag the precious last attack bonus item from the boss, even though their attacks supposedly hit simultaneously. Yet another example of why the last attack bonus item mechanic is nothing short of a steaming pile of disappointment. Asuna decides to blabber on about those supposedly thrilling raids from the earlier floors. But wouldn't it have been better if the movie had bothered to, actually show them? Apparently, Sword Art Online never got the memo about the first rule of storytelling: show, don't tell. Well, look who's feeling left out and surprised. Poor little Kirito is all shocked and heartbroken because he never gets invited to parties. But honestly, can you blame them? After all, Kirito decided to go full edgelord mode and mercilessly mocked everyone in the previous movie. Who in their right mind would want that kind of toxic presence ruining their party? Definitely not someone with an ounce of sanity, that's for sure. Kirito suddenly has the audacity to claim that solo players aren't the partying type, yet here he is, cozying up with Asuna and Argo. I guess he conveniently forgot his own words, or maybe he's a hypocrite trying to play both sides. Feast your eyes on this so-called blue blueberry tart that somehow ended up being the most vibrant shade of purple. Animators, is this the best you can do? I mean, it's not rocket science to get the color right, but apparently they're not bothering to put in the effort anymore. Kirito and Asuna embark on their relic hunting adventure. But hold your excitement, because let's be real here, is this scene actually going to matter in the grand scheme of things? Or are they stretching the runtime? Spoiler alert, it's the latter. They're padding the runtime like there's no tomorrow. Who needs meaningful plot progression when you can throw in some pointless filler to drag things out? It's like they're on a mission to test our patience and see how much we can endure without rolling our eyes into oblivion. Kirito and Asuna mindlessly pick up random junk from the ground like a bunch of lost toddlers. No maps to follow, no clues to solve, just sheer unadulterated boredom at its finest. They've managed to drain every ounce of excitement from this so-called treasure hunt, reducing it to a snooze fest of epic proportions. It's like they went out of their way to make it as mind-numbingly dull as humanly possible. You've succeeded in creating a masterpiece of tedium. Kirito enlightens us about how these insignificant trinkets they're gathering in town aren't worth much. What a delightful use of our precious time. Clearly, movies exist solely to remind us of the banalities of reality rather than providing the coveted escapism sarcasm we all crave. Asuna loses her temper, delivering a punch to Kirito. Because this movie is all about teaching us the most marvelous lessons, like how violence is such a splendid solution to all our problems. What possessed Asuna to blurt out Russian out of the blue? I suppose this scene is so dreadfully dull that the writers felt compelled to inject some random antics into her character. Well, isn't it nice how they decided to grace us with yet another captivating camera angle? Kirito and Asuna embark on a dungeon adventure. This is shamelessly attempting to imitate the brilliance of Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, but alas, it falls miserably short of achieving a fraction of its greatness. What a pitiful attempt. Asuna stumbles right into a trap and miraculously escapes unscathed because, of course, she's a flawless Mary Sue who is impervious to something as trivial as fall damage. A sly shrew man runs off with Asuna's precious rapier. How delightful to see such a brilliantly idiotic game mechanic in action. Picture yourself tirelessly toiling away for countless hours, sweat and tears pouring into acquiring that coveted weapon, only to have it unceremoniously snatched away by a lowly, insignificant mob. Asuna attempts to send a message to Kirito, only to find out he's unreachable. Who came up with the brilliant idea of needing to be within arm's length of another player to shoot a private message their way? This game's design is a masterclass in incompetence. Behold Asuna wailing for dear Kirito to swoop in and save her. I guess some people can't resist playing their cliched roles. Asuna is the ultimate eavesdropper and stumbles upon a top-secret rendezvous between two other players. They claim they can't exchange private messages, but what a feeble excuse. I'm pretty convinced the writers needed these characters to conveniently cross paths. Also, Asuna could overhear their juicy conversation. The beauty of contrived storytelling at its finest. Here comes Kirito, appearing from thin air, demanding that the player hand over Asuna's rapier. How in the virtual world did Kirito magically know exactly where to be? Is he secretly equipped with a GPS chip embedded in his brain? What was the point behind depriving Asuna of her precious rapier, only to have it miraculously return to her delicate hands a mere 10 minutes later? This entire film appears to be nothing more than a tiresome exercise in futility. A swarm of ghastly monsters materializes, and our valiant hero Kirito, ever so gallant, swoops in to protect dear Asuna, playing the perfect role of the helpless damsel in distress. But wait, dear Kirito, weren't you the one proudly proclaiming yourself as a solo player not too long ago? How peculiarly inconsistent of you. Isn't it simply hilarious how every single Sword Art Online movie can't resist throwing in a mandatory scene of Asuna indulging in a luxurious bath? They have mastered the art of fan service to keep the masses hooked and invested in the series. Plot development and meaningful storytelling aren't needed when you can simply rely on gratuitous shots of a bathing girl. Asuna and Argo decide to have an impromptu showdown right in the heart of a sizzling hot spring. And what's the grand purpose of this glorious spectacle? Absolutely zilch. This movie is a mishmash of mind-numbingly random and snooze-inducing scenes patched together like a quilt of awfulness. Argo apparently has the incredible ability to sprint on water. What in the world is happening here? She's quick to clarify that it's not some miraculous skill. It's good old-fashioned training, because training to defy the laws of physics is totally a thing now. This movie is reaching levels of absurdity that even the Fast and Furious franchise would envy. The duel reaches a completely inconclusive conclusion. The writers are obviously too terrified to crown a clear victor, lest they awaken the wrath of the rabid fanboys who would froth at the mouth if their beloved character lost. Cowards, I tell ya. Argo informs Asuna that Kirito loves her. This love story makes Twilight look like Shakespearean brilliance. Kirito lounges around in a field like he owns the place. It's a real mystery how this guy managed to become the so-called best player in the game when he spends more time relaxing than actually grinding. Maybe napping in meadows is the secret to virtual success. Who knows? Brace yourselves for yet another riveting display of characters indulging in the thrilling activity of sitting. It's almost as if the writers deliberately aim to lull us into a coma with these snooze-inducing scenes. Kirito and Asuna meet up with some other players. We're treated to another boring session of these characters plopping down and talking while eating. This is a visual medium, not a novel. How about showing us some actual action? emotion instead of blatantly exposition dumping every single thing. Use those fancy moving pictures for once. Why does Kibo suddenly trust Kirito? He hated him in the previous movie for withholding information and causing Diabelle to get killed. It feels like we skipped over a bunch of the story. Oh wait, that's exactly what happened since this movie adapts the 4th volume of the light novels instead of the 2nd. The Floor 5 boss generously drops a guild flag that, get this, boosts all the stats of nearby guildmates. Because who doesn't love an unfair advantage, right? It's not like players should rely on skill or strategy to win. No, let's hand out overpowered items and watch the world burn. Kirito, the legendary solo player, decides it's a great idea to team up with others and take down the boss. Maybe he finally realized that saving the day is so much more convenient when you have a bunch of other players doing the dirty work for you. It's fascinating how his solitary tendencies fade away when it suits him. Look who decided to grace us with her presence. Mido, the oh-so-memorable character, finally makes her grand entrance a whopping 52 minutes into the movie. I must admit, I had forgotten she existed. We can all collectively try to remember who she is and why we should care. These flashback scenes weren't in the last movie. The filmmakers decided to play a game of make-believe and hope we wouldn't catch on. Sorry, but my detective skills are on point. I noticed Kirito has been lurking in the shadows this whole time, keeping a watchful eye on poor helpless Asuna. Because Asuna is incapable of doing anything on her own without her knight in shining armor nearby. Mido boldly declares her disdain for Kirito. But fear not, for you are not alone in your sentiments. Many of us find ourselves rolling our eyes and suppressing a yawn at the mere mention of his name, like a never-ending itch that won't go away. The players bravely venture into the labyrinth thinking they're so original and unique. Little do they know, they're copying the concept straight out of Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World, a superior anime. Why bother coming up with something new when you can imitate greatness? Argo is such a wannabe Wolverine, trying so hard to mimic the real deal. It's laughable how desperately they cling to the coattails of a far superior superhero. Fuscus the Vacant Colossus is the epitome of lazy naming. Did they pick that name from the bottom of the creativity barrel? It's as if they were trying to find the most uninspired and unremarkable moniker possible. And let's not get started on the boss design. It's a ripoff of Tron and its sequel, Tron Legacy. They opt for a pathetic mashup of someone else's ideas, hoping no one will notice the lack of imagination. Well, sorry, but we can see right through their feeble attempts to pass off plagiarism as innovation. This boss is quite the lackluster display. Once the mechanics are understood, the difficulty evaporates and victory is practically guaranteed. Can you believe they actually expect us to entertain the notion that Asuna might meet her untimely demise? She appears in all the later parts of this anime, so therefore she can't die here. Look who emerges from the depths of nowhere to rescue Asuna, as if we didn't see that coming from miles away. And let's not forget her outstanding commitment to truthfulness, for she explicitly declared her refusal to intervene. What a fine example of integrity she turned out to be. And how did this work in the light novel? Mido didn't exist, so how did this scene go down? The oh-so-heroic characters managed to defeat the boss without breaking a sweat. Who needs a challenge or any semblance of suspense when victory is served on a silver platter, where the stakes are non-existent and any sense of tension is completely absent? It's also fascinating how the mighty protagonists managed to completely overlook the existence of the last attack bonus item. I was absolutely convinced that Asuna would finally have her moment in the spotlight and claim that precious last attack bonus item. But no, it seems that Kirito couldn't resist hogging the limelight once again, leaving her to wallow in yet another missed opportunity. It's remarkable how the filmmakers managed to squeeze in those delightful close-ups of derrieres at every possible opportunity. How refreshing it is to see that the film's priorities lie in showcasing the ample assets of its characters rather than crafting a compelling narrative or engaging the audience's intellect. This is a pitiful excuse for a Scarecrow cosplay. It's almost impressive how they managed to miss the mark so spectacularly. Perhaps next time they'll strive for something a tad more convincing, but I won't hold my breath. Asuna sheds tears once more. Apparently, we're expected to buy into the illusion that she's some sort of strong, independent character. Well, pardon me if I don't fall for such childish childish storytelling. The characters sip champagne despite the fact that they're underage. I suppose rules and laws are mere suggestions to these two rule breakers. Vasego Casals emerges from thin air to hold Asuna at knife point. This is, of course, another futile attempt to create tension because we all know she won't die. What a pointless scene. I must commend the writers on their exceptional ability to recycle cliches and drain any semblance of suspense from the narrative. It's hilarious how they think we'll be on the edge of our seats when we already know the outcome. Furthermore, we know that Vasego Casals isn't going to die because he pops up later in the series as well. If this film is attempting to cater to the supposedly discerning tastes of Sword Art Online fans, it fails miserably. Why did the genius minds behind this masterpiece feel the burning need to force a Yuna and Godfrey cameo right at the end? What's the reason, other than giving the fanboys an opportunity to reenact that Leo pointing at the screen meme? The filmmakers are prioritizing cheap fan service over any semblance of meaningful storytelling. Overall, this movie was aimless and boring. The story was paper thin, and it forced them to cram in a truckload of mind-numbing filler just to stretch it to feature length. Without all that fluff, we'd be looking at a 20-minute snooze fest. The first progressive movie was a tedious rehash, and this one is a fruitless filler fest. It's impressive how they managed to continuously stumble from one failure to another. But hey, at least they're consistent in their ability to dissatisfy people. You want a good laugh? This movie managed to score lower than Velma Season 1 on IGN's scale. You heard that right. The filmmakers should seriously consider hiding their faces in shame. How does one even achieve such a feat? It's like stumbling on a banana peel while standing still. If I were part of the team behind this train wreck of a movie, then I'd be having some serious existential crises right about now. It's a cinematic catastrophe that deserves a special place in the Hall of Shame. Congratulations to the makers of this movie for reaching a whole new level of disappointment. Take a moment to reflect on your choices and perhaps consider a career change. It's clear that whatever path you're on right now isn't working. Save yourself the agony and skip this movie. I sacrificed my precious hours of my life to spare you the torment. Seriously, your time is more valuable than subjecting yourself to this cinematic catastrophe. If you're in the mood for a movie about gaming done right, then Free Guy is the way to go. Trust me, it won't leave you feeling like you just wasted a chunk of your life. Free Guy offers a refreshing and unique take on the gaming genre. From the moment the opening credits roll, you'll be captivated by the energetic and vibrant world that unfolds before your eyes. The comedic timing and witty one-liners add an extra layer of fun to the already exhilarating storyline. And let's not forget about the rest of the talented cast who bring their A game, creating a delightful ensemble that keeps the laughter flowing. One of the true highlights of Free Guy is its clever blend of action, humor, and heart. The film effortlessly transitions between pulse-pounding sequences and moments of genuine emotion, making you invested in the characters and their journey. The visual effects are nothing short of spectacular, immersing you in the virtual world with stunning detail and eye-popping set pieces. Free Guy is a crowd-pleasing adventure that manages to strike the perfect balance between laughs, thrills, and heartwarming moments. It's a feel-good movie that reminds us of the power of embracing our inner heroes and seizing every opportunity that comes our way. So watch Free Guy instead of Sword Art Online Progressive Scherzo of Deep Night. Well, folks, that concludes our lovely session of Sword Art Online bashing. Brace yourselves because I've got a whole arsenal of hate videos in the works, so stay tuned for the next dose of pure disdain. If you despise Sword Art Online as much as I do, then this channel is practically a shrine for your refined taste. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our merry band of SAO haters. If you found any enjoyment in this video, kindly bestow upon us the honor of a like. And for all those fervent Sword Art Online aficionados who are incapable of handling the tiniest whiff of criticism, please do grace us with a dislike and a meticulously crafted tirade about how we utterly fail. In our attempt to ridicule your cherished anime, such generous acts of engagement only make our video perform better in the algorithm, so we sincerely thank you for your unwavering support. If you happen to know anyone with absolutely abysmal taste in anime, and they shamelessly adore SAO, do them a solid and share this video with them. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe, they'll finally develop some semblance of good taste and start disliking the series. Alright, you wonderful bunch of haters, thanks for sticking around till the end. I'll catch you in the next video, where we'll continue our journey of ripping sword art online to shreds. Until our paths cross again in the next video, keep the anti-SAO fire burning bright.